Hey friends, before we get started with today's episode, I wanted to let you know that I have just a few spots left for the two dreamy trips to France this September. So first we've got Paris and Versailles, which is for couples, and that is September 14th through the 19th. We are going to be in Versailles with Molly doing a private pastry class from her apartment. We are going to spend 2 fabulous nights in Versailles because I love that little city. It's beautiful and stunning. You will love it too. Then we will be off to Paris and we have a walking tour with Claudine Hemingway. We have a market tour and cooking class with Veronique with Cuisine Elegante. We'll be making an amazing multi-course lunch while drinking champagne and be in her beautiful Parisian apartment. We are going to be pickers for the day. We're going to Champagne with Cindy Couteau and going to this beautiful small champagne producer, family run, woman-led. She's 10th generation. Her name is Christine. I cannot pronounce the name of the champagne house, so I'm not even going to hurt your ears by trying, but you will love it. It's going to be amazing. Then the next trip is in the Charente-Maritime, and it's just a day later. And we will be starting in Bordeaux and then having a fabulous lunch at the Intercontinental Hotel before we head off to the Charente-Maritime region to check into our gorgeous chateau that we have rented the entire property. It's on a 75-acre park. It's unbelievable. My friend Jeff is going to be our private chef, so he'll be providing all of the dinners that we take at the chateau. We're going to visit Ile de Ré. We're going on a river cruise. We are going to make beautiful silver jewelry at this woman's chateau that she purchased recently. And we're going to do a private tour and tasting at Citadel Gin, my favorite. So much goodness, so much beauty, so much time to relax, so much time to engage and discover, so much time to shop for your own property in France if you are so inclined. We'll have lots of conversations with expats that have done just that. It's so dreamy. If you can't decide, you don't have to. You can come to both, like some of my clients are doing. But I just wanted you to know about those two things: Paris and Versailles, September 14th through the 19th, the Charente-Maritime, September 20th to the 26th. The link is in the show notes. Save your spot today. I cannot wait to play with you in France. Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. Oh, you guys, I have had such an amazing few days interviewing fabulous, wonderful queens for this podcast for you to listen to. It has been such a joy. It has been so abundant. I have found myself just twirling around in my field as I'm just overcome, not overwhelmed. I'm present for the abundance of beauty that is this property, the abundance of beauty that is my life, the abundance of beauty that is my daughter, that is my business, that is my house, that is all of these beautiful things that I get to have and share at the same time. It's just, it's so good. I am feeling fully supported. I have an amazing team. And among my amazing team is my fabulous podcast producer who offers this beautiful service that she excels at that is nowhere near what I would like to do to make this podcast happen. So I get to have these gorgeous conversations. I upload the file of the conversation. And then magically, a few weeks later, on a Wednesday morning, I see that there's a new podcast and I listen to it. And it's so fun. So she does all the things that don't delight me. And I am so excited to introduce her to you today. So Shannon Warner is my guest, and this is what she has to say about herself. Shannon Warner's personal journey through motherhood has fueled her passion to empower others on their own paths. She champions the belief that women transcend the title of mom, emphasizing alignment and individuality in motherhood, especially for career-oriented women transitioning into working motherhood. As the host of the Having a Mom Moment podcast, Shannon advocates for prioritizing self-nurturing and reconnection before extending care to others. Through her platform, she offers mentorship services tailored to meet mothers wherever they are in their journey. Picture Shannon as your supportive confidant, guiding you toward an empowered motherhood experience where informed choices and self-love intersect, propelling you to craft a life brimming with joy and fulfillment. It's so good. So even if you are past your mothering little children era, she is such a wealth of beauty, of insight, of gorgeous energy. She holds space in such a beautiful, expansive way. And she is a very faithful listener to the podcast, just like you are. So she has so much to bring and so much to offer. I cannot wait to share this conversation with you, with my dear friend, Shannon Warner. I almost started crying. I think I'm going to. Sweet, amazing, fabulous Shannon Warner. I love you. Thank you for being here. And now you know I'm not lying.
Thank you, Wendy. I did not wear waterproof mascara. I was not prepared. I was prepared last time we talked, but not this time.
I have never worn makeup, and this is the reason why. It would just be a waste of my time.
Oh my goodness.
Oh gosh. Okay, friends. Here she is, the amazing woman that, oh, I'm going to cry again. Goodness sakes. That is responsible for all of these beautiful conversations making their way to your beautiful ears. Shannon is my podcast producer, my friend, a fabulous source of inspiration, and the podcast host of Having a Mom Moment. So we are all in for beautiful, beautiful experience. Shannon, thank you so much for being here. You're amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. I receive all of that, and that's an exercise sometimes when the compliments feel quite large. So I will receive that. Thank you.
Good, good. I didn't know I was going to say any of that, which is why it made me start to cry.
Oh my goodness.
Goodness. I have felt over the past, my whole life, the past couple of years, most poignantly in the last few days. So I can't, sorry guys, I'll get it together. so absolutely in my bliss that it doesn't fit inside my body. So right now it's coming out my eyeballs. It's been coming out my mouth in these amazing, beautiful conversations. We were talking about this before we hit record, but last week I had five podcast interviews, and that is more than what my calendar normally holds because I only reserve one day to record. And it was so inspiring and so um, raising my vibration having these conversations that I've been floating around, twirling around in my field, just enjoying the beauty that surrounds me and just this feeling and experience of abundance, whether that's leaves, grass, peony, chores, expansive conversations, friendships, opportunities, clients, all of it. It's just so beautiful.
I love being in your energy. Thank you. Thank you. Just I receive it. I am ready for it. And this is, I feel like we all need a healthy dose of this every single day.
Yeah, exactly. I said several months ago in an interview with Diane Wingert, she was asking me how have I found community and how often am I having conversations like the one she and I had as I interviewed her for the podcast. And I said, oh, I have these conversations every single day. In fact, I am only available for these kinds of conversations. And so often when we make a statement like that feels audacious, like I am only available for what delights me, or I am only available for conversations like this, or I am only available for pleasant weather that cooperates with the things on my calendar, that those things sound incredibly audacious, and we're allowed to say them. And if we say them and have certainty and a knowing that what we speak is in fact what we want, then we can create our experience and we get what we expect. So if you expect for this coming heat wave to be a damper on all the fun things on your calendar, then guess what? It will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if
Yeah,
you expect great things, then great things will happen.
it's such a departure from what we're brought up believing. So I know to some people, they're like, what are you talking about? What are you even saying right now? No, no, we get to choose, right? We have to move through our experience, but we can choose how we show up and how we maneuver through the things that come at us.
It's true. And I've been doing a lot of work around this personally, and a lot of reading and listening to things, messages like this that are really uplifting and shifting the paradigm of how I used to go through my days and what I thought. And I thought that if you can't just have your head in the clouds, you have to be reasonable and look around at your reality, like what's really happening. And actually, that is what perpetuates those unwanted experiences, is continuing to think or pull yourself out of the quote unquote dream world that you desire and bringing yourself back to what is just creates more of what is instead of what you want. So recognizing that we have so much agency in how our days go is it's a for me, I don't want to project this on anybody else, but it was a huge leap. And I thought, oh gosh, I'm not sure about that. I don't know if that's actually true. I don't know if that actually works, but it's certainly not going to hurt to try
Right.
it. And it works.
hmm Yeah, I just had to realize what I'm doing is not working for me. Like, I deserve to live all the pieces of my life, not just these pockets here and here and here. And if I really don't love the way something's going, maybe I can choose to interact with it differently. And it just changes the trajectory of everything. We get to
Right.
choose.
Yes. How is that playing out? Is there a specific example that you're thinking of as you mentioned that? Or how do you make that work in your life?
So the biggest example was I was responsible for a lot of my own suffering.
Mm.
Little backstory, very career-oriented woman, went to undergrad, was going to be a teacher, immediately went to graduate school to like build up my credentials and went into teaching and then decided, no, thank you. Like this is a lot. This is a lot of unpaid labor and I'm not available for it. I didn't know the words at the time, but that's what it was. And then navigated into something else. And I just found myself suffering over and over again. And I'm like, I
Mm.
hate this. And I hated going to work in the morning and I didn't enjoy my coworkers. And then it had to have been through Kathy. We love Kathy.
Yes.
Um, just changing the way I was looking at interactions. I had one coworker in particular who was so triggering, and I decided to look at them and go, huh, that's fascinating. Every time they did something, I was like, oh, that's fascinating. And it changed the way I was able to interact with them because they were such a point of misery for me, it was like, what are you doing? I'm just going, wow, that's really fascinating that you think that's the appropriate way to move through the situation. Like you get to have your experience and I get to have mine. And then I
Mm.
even went as far as to make a little list of reasons why I did love my job. I love some of my coworkers and I get to work remotely and I get to do this and I get to do that. And once I did that, the job I didn't like left me. And it was such a gift. It was such a gift.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I have chills. And it's true. All of that is so true that we can create what Abraham Hicks would call a list of positive aspects. So
Mhm.
even if there are, if you've got 10 things and nine of them are awful in your estimation, if you focus on the one thing that is going well and you give your energy to that, the other nine will catch up in one of two ways, that you will either interact with them differently and you will find more positive aspects of those things and focus there and create more of that, or
Mhm.
they will self-select and leave you. Just like
Yeah.
I love that you say that your job left you, just like
Mhm.
I say a chateau found me. It's
Mhm.
true that things they find us and they leave us,
Mhm.
and those opportunities are in service to both parties always, whether there is an acknowledgement of that or if it's just something that we know that it's always a double blessing.
Oh, definitely. It, of course, was shocking. It was a layoff, and these things are happening. And I'd been there many years, and I had to work through a lot of feelings around it. But after I could take a beat and process, I realized I was never going to leave on my own. It was way too comfortable. Even though I was miserable half the time, I was way too comfortable. So I think universe, God source, whatever you want to call it, was like, okay, no, 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 no. We've decided and we're moving forward. So it was a shock, but it was such a blessing.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And this concept of how the universe hates a void, where if you take a rock out of the ocean, immediately a wave comes in and
Yeah.
fills that space. And I know that I keep saying that, listeners, and I think I keep saying it because I've heard it for so many years and I didn't quite get it. I knew it was something that made me say, oh, like it was impactful, but I still didn't quite understand the concept of it. And now I do. So every time I see that happening, I can pull that analogy into my awareness so that I go, oh, yeah, that's what it means. That's what it means. So when that job left you, even though you weren't enjoying it, it was still taking a large amount of time and a huge amount of energy because of all the efforting you had to do just to show up
Yeah,
there. And then
exactly.
with that being removed, what has taken its place?
It was so interesting because that was right around the time that I decided to, jump in with both feet and enroll in Abundant Ever After with Kathy, which, that's an investment and it's a big
Yeah,
decision. And I felt called to do it and made the decision. And week 2, the layoff happened. And the first week I was like trying to like watch the calls in the background, like while I'm working because they're during the day. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to juggle all of this? And then week 2 it happened and I was like, wow, now I have all the time and space I need because it's intensive, right? There's a couple
right.
of calls. And then if you have a pod that you're meeting with, and then there's homework which I am very like a student on a roll. Like I'm going to do the homework if there's homework.
Totally.
So
Right.
yeah, it took as much time as I was able to give it, as much time as it needed. And I'm so grateful for that because I got so much more out of it than if I was trying to juggle that while juggling these other pieces.
Right. That's amazing. And then what has come off of the other side of that experience?
Mm, what hasn't? So
I
much,
love that.
so much. It's been, we've been taken care of, opportunities
Oh,
and funds because we know life costs money, right? And we have children
right.
and they cost money, and we've been taken care of up until this point, and I'm so grateful. Even the way my husband and I used to work together at the same company. And he had an opportunity from a mutual friend of ours who was like, would you want to take this job? I think you could do it. And so he interviewed and he was able to leave before these layoffs happened. And it was a better opportunity with a better income, which helped with this, now
Yay.
gap. And then through Kathy's work, started my own podcast, which I don't think I would have been able to do while working full time with 2 little kids, and then meeting everybody. And I just keep meeting people. And then you and I found each other. And it's just like, it just keeps going. It just keeps happening.
It's so good. And I
Mhm.
love that, just the ripple effects of one, it feels like one really big decision. And then it is just kind of the launch pad for everything that comes next. And a similar thing happened to me saying yes to Kathy's program back in January of 2020, that changed my entire life. And first, I had no idea that my life required change. I
Mhm.
really didn't. And secondly, I just didn't know that that was going to be one of those experiences that becomes a time marker,
Yeah.
where you're like, oh, well, that was, how sometimes the pandemic is that.
Yeah.
So for people that say, oh, well, it was 2020, and what that means to some people, I mean, that just those words strung together, well, that was 2020, has so many different definitions because our entire globe was impacted. So there are
Right.
8 billion definitions of what those words strung together mean. And for some, it was devastating. And for some, it was expansive. And I am in the expansive camp. And I did not know that that decision was going to be the launch pad for everything that I've done since. But that's the beauty of trust and surrender, because for me, like, I'm trusting in God and I'm not surrendering my dream or the thing I want. I'm surrendering my resistance of letting it in. I'm
Mhm.
surrendering this nonsense of this narrative that says, well, I can't have that. I can want it, but I can't actually have it because A, B, C, D, E. I got 1,000 reasons of why it hasn't been my actual, physical experience yet. But when I get out of my own way, when I surrender that resistance, then I am not creating an environment that's just a repeat of what I don't want, which is what we were
Mhm.
already talking about, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
the beauty of not knowing where this yes is going to take you is actually such a blessing, because you don't get in the way, or you don't insert your familiar story because it's something new, and you're able to approach it with curiosity and discovery. And you're like, huh, oh, look at that. Now I'm going to start a podcast. Oh, look at that. Now I'm meeting these people because I have interviews. Oh, look at that. This person in this Facebook group needs a podcast producer. I'll answer
Right.
her. Oh, look at that. She wants me to go to France with her. Oh, look at that. I mean, all of these things, like, you had no idea
Mm-mm.
what that
Right.
one yes does. And once you start just swimming in that possibility and entering each day with curiosity and discovery and availability. I ask every morning, I go outside, I open my arms wide, the sun is coming up, and I ask God, how may I be of service? And whatever good idea falls in my heart is what I do that day. And people ask me, how do you do all these things? How are you doing all this? And I say, I don't know. I do it. I'm feeling so guided that I don't have to figure out what's next. Of course, I have aspirations, and those are beautiful things. And God knows what's on my list. It's actually His list, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that any of that good stuff's going to happen. I just know that I'm going to be available and say yes to whatever guidance comes, and that will be my inspired action.
Mm. So lovely. Yeah, I need to do more asking, I think. I
Mm.
still get in my own way sometimes. And I am so easy and quick to tell my friends, like, why are you rejecting yourself? Why are you telling yourself no? Why are you? But and this is part of when I was mulling over, how am I going to answer Wendy's question that I listen to every week? How am I going to answer it? I feel like I have to muscle my way through things. That's my set point, is to muscle. And then I have to figure out the way, and I have to figure out the next best step. And I have to do, and I now know better, but because that is my set point, I fall back into it so
Mm.
easily of like, no, 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 here's my to-do list. I'll do, and then it will work. And friends, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work.
Right. And I think you said something that was so key, is how come I can tell my friends so clearly what I see their next steps to be? And that is, we've talked about it so many times, how you can't read the label from inside the bottle. And
Hmm.
that is the gift of community. It's
Hmm.
having conversations like this, and then committing yourself to having conversations like this every day, and then committing yourself to only having conversations like this. It's like, in me telling you what I see so easily for you, I'm listening to it also. Like, it's getting inside of there. And then you telling me what is so easy for you to see is, both of our brains are listening to
Right.
all of that. And that's what's so beautiful, because there's an absolute untruth that is not in service, that when we start getting inspiring ideas from other people, or even receive compliments, and you've said, I receive that, which is so beautiful, because we have that set point, like you just said, there comes a tipping point where it's like, oh my gosh, that's so nice. And go, oh, no, that's not feeling good now. Oh, that's too much. Oh, if she actually knew what this was, or where I did go to school, or what my grades were, or what my bank balance is, or or how I really
Mm.
feel, or what do I eat when people aren't here, or like, whatever, like, we come up with all of those things. But first of all, they're all from the past. So any argument, or any, what you think is revelation or intuition or insight, if it is only using data from the past, that is not your intuition. That is your
Mm.
ego, which is just trying to keep you safe. That is fear talking. It's the ego, as defined in A Course in Miracles, as self-hatred disguising itself as self-love.
Whoa.
That gives me
Whoa.
chills. Yeah.
That's major.
Yeah. It's no joke. So anytime you are hearing those things in your head, Nicole Khalil calls it head trash. We call it that mean girl, whatever is going on in that narrative inside of you, if it is repeating past behavior or past experiences, don't listen. If
Mm-hmm.
what you're hearing in your heart is making your heart swell and it's projecting something into your future experience that you want, the woman that or the person that you're becoming. I say that for my brother and my friends, Dave and Oswald, that are, I think, the only three men that listen to this podcast. But if it's the person that you're becoming, that you desire to be, that feels expansive, the mother, the friend, the sister, the daughter, the wife, the partner, the podcast host that you're desiring to be, and our ego mind would say, reel that in, little girl, like, I don't know what you're thinking. But all of those come from a future place. That is our intuition, that is our
Mm-hmm.
higher self, that is Christ within us. That's God in us calling us up to the next version of ourselves. And that can be trusted. All of
Yes.
this nonsense about the past cannot be trusted, even. And then you might say, oh, but it's true, it happened. Yeah, but we're not going there. We're done with that. That gum has been chewed. We are not, we're
Right.
done with it.
Right.
Let's create something new. Let's step into these dreams, because we know if these dreams are in you, these dreams are for you. And these are the steps that you get there.
Mm-hmm. I have been trying to hold space lately too, though, for little Shannon, who is inside trying to protect
Yes.
me because of things that she's picked up over time where she feels like it's not safe to be seen, or that she just needs to play small and kind of just blend in with the background because that feels safe. And I actually did a meditation this morning, and it came through. Um, there are no coincidences, so I'm going to share it, and I had to write it down. But it came
Right.
through.
And the throat.
Yeah, the throat. Here
I
we go.
love it. Here, it's going to be good. Get your pencil.
Just that you're allowed to be great, and it is safe for you to be recognized for your greatness. So if anyone needed to hear that today, I needed it too.
Everybody needs to hear that every single day.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. And that's such a good point. Yes, we do. We're not just shunning the fear. We're going to acknowledge it. We're going to thank it. I have in my car, it's really smart, and it warns me of impending danger. And for some reason, at the exit off the highway, every single time, beep, 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 and red lights are flashing. And
Wow.
there's not another car in sight. It's actually the exit for my home. So it's not unfamiliar, but every time it's sensing something
Interesting.
is amiss.
Uh-huh.
So I I have, in having those experiences, I've likened it to this, where fear is popping up and it's sounding all the alarms, and I don't ignore it. I'm going to acknowledge it and say, oh,
Mm,
thank you, car. Thank you for letting me know, but it's okay. I'm going to drive,
right.
and I am aware of my surroundings. And thank you so much. I appreciate your desire to keep me safe, but there's nothing to fear in this moment.
Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. I think I, for a while, was trying to like, quote, spiritual bypass my own stuff, where I was like, I'll just choose a
Mhm.
better feeling thought. And it's like, it works sometimes, but there is often stuff that we do really need to work through. So I'm trying to hold space for little Shannon in this season and just acknowledge her for the things that she went
Mm.
through, because it was a lot and we're okay. But grown Shannon needs to let her know that she's okay and that I have her and we've got each other and we are going to move forward. I've got her, I'm holding her by the hand and it is safe, right? But girl, get in your booster seat in the back. Like you're not big
That's
enough
right.
to be up here.
Right, right. You can be in the car. I'm glad you're
Yeah.
here, but you may
Yeah.
not drive.
Right. Exactly right. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, how are you saying yes to yourself in this season?
It's so interesting the way I have mulled over this question because I hear you ask it in every episode. And I was like, how am I going to answer this? And then I was like, am I saying yes to myself? What am I doing? And then I started to spiral. So I have decided I am choosing ease. And in
Mm.
doing so, I am trusting that what is for me will not miss me if I do choose ease. So I'm an
Mm.
overfunctioner, like I said, where I'm like, I need to do all the things. And then I burn myself out. It's just this pattern that's been repeating over and over throughout my life. So I am very mindfully choosing ease every day. I've been trying since the beginning of this month and
Mm.
doing less and just trusting that the things that I want are still for me and I don't have to make a 15 item to-do list every single day to get them.
I love that. It's such an exhale.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, as we are halfway through the month at the time of this recording, how are you finding that? How is it working for you?
Pretty good, actually.
Yay. Of course, because it's what you
Yeah.
expect.
Right. I know I had to set down my podcast for a little bit because I was just feeling very overwhelmed. And I was just like, I went through a heavy season of recording and editing, and it was just a lot. I loved it, but it was a lot.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna set it down just for a little bit. I'm not leaving it. I'm gonna come back to it. And then I started to wonder, where am I gonna find my guests and da 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 and where people are falling out of the sky to talk to me.
Mhm.
They're finding me everywhere. And it's
Yeah,
just like, oh, once I just decided that it's just going to be easy and it's going to
that's
be
right.
fine. And I don't have to go on the hunt and emails almost daily or people reaching out to me on Instagram. And I'm like, you have how many followers and you want to talk to me? Okay, sure. Yes, please. And I think it helps too that it is summer here and school is out and my older daughter who just completed first grade is home a couple days a week and I'm just deciding like we are going to soak up the beautiful summer fun together those 2 days that she's home and
Mm.
I have no choice but to clear my schedule for her and just be a kid with her for a few days every week, so it feels really fun.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited that we are so closely connected so that I can follow this summer of fun for you and with you. Like, that's beautiful.
Mm, yeah, I haven't, that just gave me a reminder. I think it was like 2005. I was like 19, I think. And my friend and I decided it was the summer of fun. And it was probably the most fun we've ever had in our lives. So yeah,
Because
thank
you
you for
get
saying
what you
summer of fun.
expect.
Yeah.
When you
Mm-hmm.
set an intention, I mean, the Bible says, ask and it is given. Like
Yeah.
you set the intention and then you leave the intention with who you asked for it.
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
is going to bring that to you. And if we keep asking for it, asking, it's like just allow it. You don't have to
Yeah.
keep beating the drum of the thing that you want. Just allow it and accept it. And if you, in this summer of fun, you're wanting to feel connected, you're wanting to feel ease, you're wanting to feel freedom, you're wanting to feel limitless, you're wanting to feel untethered, you're wanting to feel love and joy and laughter and just yummy bonding with your daughter, you can feel that right now. Like you don't
Mm-hmm.
even have to plan trips. You don't
Right.
have to, it's just setting that intention and then being available and then listening
Mm-hmm.
to so that you can take inspired action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I kept thinking like, oh gosh, how am I going to entertain her? She's usually gone all the time. How am I going to entertain her? And we've read together. We did a
Mhm.
craft last week. We've gone to the library. Like these are fun and wonderful for her. And I just get to be there and it's
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't have to, of course, we'll go to the amusement park, but I don't have to plan that for her for that to be enough for her.
it will be interesting. I'd love for you to be mindful of what these experiences are that are just happening and compare that to the planned
Mm,
outing of the amusement park that has this expectation associated with it, and see how those play out. Because
yeah.
I see that a lot in Amelia's experience, because I'm incorporating, and it's not right. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just what our co-parenting experience is. So I'm I'm busy all day long, every day here on the property. And so Amelia and I have beautiful experiences, but they are centered around being at this address. And, we do fun things and we have fun and all of that, but it's here. And when she's with her dad, he, I think, is also sweetly living out a lot of his childhood wishes. So when they go camping, they have like every quote unquote fun food that you can
Mm,
imagine. And that, all the things probably that his parents said no when they were grocery shopping,
right.
like he buys for them. And not even that he would want to eat like that now, but it just like feels like that equals fun.
Hmm.
And then they're camping, but they're also going to a different amusement park every day of their camping trip. And they're like all of this
Yeah.
schedule. And then he'll send me a text and just say, she just wants to read books in the tent. Like, yeah, she just wants, it's sometimes what we have, and they are having a great time and they're making beautiful memories. And I love that they're doing all of that. And sometimes when we have some expectation, like we're going to Disney and this costs 10 grand and
Mm,
you will have fun, darn it. And
hmm.
so will I. And
Hmm.
I don't see how that's going to happen because it's 3 million other people's good idea this weekend
Right.
also. It's like, oh
Oh,
my gosh,
man.
that does not delight me. It's cheaper
Uh,
to go to France for a month than it is to go to Disney for 3 days. I'm like,
I'm so glad you said that. We don't have to go on a full side tangent here, but we have been dreading the Disney trip because I feel like we have to take them. And I'm like, we've got a 5 year age gap between our kids. So, like, when's the right time? We want the little one to remember it. We don't want to have to go twice. Like, it's so expensive. It's so far and it's so hot.
and this is hilarious. Why are we even entertaining this question?
Right. For real.
If you don't want to go, please do not go. It will not be fun for anyone.
Right. No, you're so
And
right.
I mean, maybe your mom wants to take them. Maybe they don't even want to go. I mean,
Mhm.
Keith wanted to surprise Amelia and watch all the movies leading up so she would know the characters. She does not like a movie she has not already seen,
Yeah.
which makes it a little challenging. It's a very limited repertoire around here, but she's really sensitive and she just doesn't care for the unknown. So it was a
Fair.
painful process leading up to it because he was making her watch these movies and she'd be crying and
Oh
having
my
bad
gosh.
dreams. So then I'd
Oh
be up all night because I mean, it was just a whole, like all of the clues
no.
were saying, hello, let's
All of
rethink
this
this.
is
This is
terrible.
like not fun for anybody.
Mm,
And then he wanted her to have the princess breakfast and all. She doesn't care for personalized attention from
mm,
strangers,
yeah.
even if it's Belle. She just doesn't, that's not fun for her. She doesn't
Hmm.
like it. So he made the arrangements and she didn't do it.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was like everyone's expectations were not being met
Hmm.
and it was a disaster. And it's so funny because I think the words that we would say on the other side of that was, I'm so surprised that it wasn't fun. And now, like looking back, I'm like, why would that surprise me? None
Right.
of it, like none of the lead up was fun.
Right.
I mean, it's just so interesting how even when we're doing this spiritual development work, and even
Yeah.
when we're being so intentional about what we put in our body and how we spend our time, and then we just jump right into this swampland that
Precisely.
is, because it's like culturally, and who actually
Yeah.
did decide that everybody has to go to Disney? I
Walt
don't.
Disney.
Right. I mean, I grew up a mile away from Disneyland.
Okay.
So I went so many times as a kid because
Yeah.
I am not a young woman, but it was $5 to go to
Yeah.
Disneyland when I was
Hmm.
growing up.
Hmm.
And there were tickets that you could go on different rides, and you could buy more tickets to go on the bigger rides. But we would have all of these A tickets, which were for Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse and Tom Sawyer's Island, and like the merry-go-round or something.
Hmm.
So we would walk, and I say we would do this. I think we did it once or twice, but in my memory, we did it all the time.
Yeah.
But we walked to Disneyland from our house, a friend and I went to
Wow.
Disneyland, played on Tom Sawyer's Island all day, took the monorail to the Disneyland Hotel where my mom met us, and we watched Dancing Waters for free, and
Hmm.
then went home. Like, so I'm Disneyed out.
Yeah.
I've met my quota, so I don't have that feeling of, oh, we must do this. But it's so fascinating. And then there are people that love, 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 love it and go every year, and they
Yeah.
don't even have children, and they're in it. Like, those are that's what makes it the happiest place on earth, is when that girl is there. Not the happiest place on
Right.
earth when I'm there.
Right. And I love that for those people, but no, thank you. Right.
Right?
Especially then I'm like, what else could we have done with this money? Like we could have had a lot of fun with this money, or we could have invested in this or da 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 da, you know. Mm.
Right. And if you asked the girls and they really had a strong desire, it would, rising tides raise all ships. Like, you would
Yeah.
be in it for them.
Yeah.
But when there's this element of so much undesirability, I think it's a clue.
Hmm. Yeah. Our 7-year-old is aching to go, but the little one
Oh,
has no idea what's going on. So I was like,
right.
maybe take the trip with grandma. Maybe we just do like a quick jaunt, a
Hmm.
day or two, you know, and then come home.
Yeah. I mean, when we did go, the thing, Amelia loved the fireworks on the last night. She loved Magic Kingdom, which is fun,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
probably because that was what was most familiar to me,
Yeah.
because I grew up by Disneyland. So I probably communicated that energetically that
Yeah.
this was
Really
the best one, because it's the one I know. And she liked the hotel room.
fascinating.
Right. It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I think your favorite part was that $15 ice cream. That better be
Right.
your favorite part,
Right. I know. Let's buy you a $30 t-shirt to remember.
right? That you're going to grow out of. But oh my gosh,
Right. Oh
the
my
stuffies.
gosh.
Oh my word.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's such an interesting piece to look at where in our lives are we doing things because we feel like we should or we have to, especially by our children as mothers.
Right. Say more
Hmm.
about that, because your podcast is called Having a Mom Moment.
Yeah.
And I would love to know, like, say more about what you just said.
It started, this having a mom moment idea started when my daughter was about 6 months old back in 2017. And I was able to steal away about 30 minutes to myself at the end of summer. And I was sitting outside in a lawn chair with a mixed drink going, I guess this is it. I guess this is my life now. Like, I love my daughter. She's beautiful and incredible. And I'm so blessed. But like, this is what's left for me after. And I felt that way for a long time, but now I'm realizing on the other side of the spiritual work is we get to choose, and we get to choose what our moments are, and we get to make them as magical as we want to be. But a lot of that means we have to set down the ideals that we're carrying around that don't serve us, especially around what we feel like we have to do for our kids. You don't have to enroll them in 15 extracurriculars, right? You don't have to show up to every birthday party they're invited to, which I know we talked about. You
Yes.
don't have to have them overscheduled and have, complete summer, like we were talking about too. I don't think if I had a full activity day planned every Tuesday and Thursday while my daughter's not at her summer program, I don't think she would love that. She also likes downtime just like her mom. So I think she would be thrilled with an hour here and there to watch Netflix.
Yeah.
And I can give that to her without being like, oh, but screen time. And we should be outside and we should be getting fresh air, or maybe we should be working on our reading and handwriting. Like, no, it's all okay. And we can choose to let it be okay, but we've got to set down all of this pressure that we carry around as moms in so many capacities, but just, like with your kids, give yourself the space and time to be their mom, but be your own human too, because that is the best gift that you can give them. But
Yes.
you
I mean,
often have to cut their schedule in half so you can do that.
right. And taking a cue from that. I mean, you said the word should,
Mm-hmm.
and that is not your higher self, queen.
No,
Like that is not,
no.
and even anyone that has heard my little rant about Disney, I'm like, what? You can't, you have to. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
actually, you have to, sweet listener who thinks I'm, not parenting at my highest and best because I've got a thing about going to Disneyland. I mean, it's everyone gets to have their own experience,
Yeah.
and we get to let other people have their own experience. And when we start getting stuck in other people's expectations of how we should do, I mean, we already know, like that's a repulsive sense. I'm like making a
Right.
face as it
I
comes out of
know.
my mouth because I don't live my life like that. And there are still some topics like Disney World, like the school bus. I mean, the people that have said, oh no, it's a rite of passage. You have to let her be on the school. I'm like, that place, no, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
she doesn't want to take the bus. I mean, it's all just
Right.
people just have lots of ideas
Yeah.
of how things can be done. People tell me often, oh, you don't want a bed and breakfast. Like, I'm sorry.
What?
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 Like you,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that what they're saying is, I don't want a bed and breakfast, which is lucky for you. You
Yeah.
don't have one and you don't
Exactly
have
right.
to. But it's just so fascinating, even when we are on this road of discovery and expansion and work, that there's some pitfalls in there that still like, oh, it's for all of this stuff that has to do with me, but the things with my children, I
Yep.
really have to control and make sure that they're in a summer program and have all the math workbooks and are doing all the things. And I'm still in the process, and because you listen to every podcast because
I
you get
do.
paid to do that.
Also a super fan.
You're a faithful listener. Um, and the reason that I love it so much is because I'm not editing it. So thank you for that.
Of course.
So I am in a current area of curiosity around how do I balance cultivating Amelia's intuition and
Mm,
her inner knowing and her acting on what feels right and good to her. How does that interact with parenting? And how does that interact with guidance? And do the things where you have all the agency in the world during these hours, but when it comes to when you're turning your iPad on, then there's some structure and some rules around that. And so what I'm doing, because of course I believe that there needs to be some structure, otherwise why would we have parents? So i
right.
know i know I have a role here, but I'm trying to really mine dig into, cultivate what my role is and my slippery slope is, when do my decisions come from a place that makes me feel better?
Hmm.
And then what about that makes me feel better? Is it that I had this rule about screen time because I asked mothers that I respected and enjoyed time with their children. I asked them when we finally got our referral from China and knew Amelia was coming. I asked a few moms, like, what did you do? What's your one piece of advice? And one suggested the Russian school for math. So she started that the summer before kindergarten.
Okay.
And then the other one said no screens during the week. So that way they didn't ever have to get their kids to do their homework or turn the TV off to go do their homework, because it just wasn't even an option. And
Mm-hmm.
so I, like you, I'm a student, I'm a rule follower. So ever since she was 2, there's no screen. If the sun is up or there's school tomorrow, there's no screen. So don't even ask me.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I say that to another mother, like, oh, that's good, I should do that. And so I was getting a lot of accolades from other adults about my decision. Well, that she's been home for 8 years. So sometimes rules are long lasting and they become pillars of that you
Mm-hmm.
value, that you build your life on. And some, they outlive their usefulness. And so I really had to investigate my motivation behind holding on to that particular rule.
Mm-hmm.
And I am still I'm a teeter totter on that one, because I feel like really good and expansive, and I tell her, yes, she asks me and I say yes, and she's so excited, and then I go out and do chores and I come in a couple hours later and she's still in the same place. I'm like, oh, okay, this doesn't feel good in my body anymore. So I'm like, okay, I need you to turn it off, and I need you. And then I go back out and then I come back in and I say, I'm sorry, I want to raise a human that listens to herself and has agency and doesn't just comply with rules.
Mm. Yeah. So
Oh,
good.
yeah.
So
So
good.
I will definitely, I am available for comments on that and thoughts, and I will still run them through my own personal guidance. But I'm having to rethink a lot of things.
Yeah. And I think doing things as long as they work for the both of you, and when they stop working for either of you, you can pivot and try something else.
Right.
Like here in the winter and it's frigid, we've got limited options. We bought a used trampoline, like a kid size, and it's in our basement because we're like, we need the children to move, but sometimes
Right.
it's just a wear comfy jammies and veg on the couch for a little bit. And that's what works at that time. And
Right.
we're not punishing ourselves over it. But there are times too where like, you've been sitting here too long, let's get up.
Yeah.
But you just do I heard one interesting technique that we have not used yet. We're not big on tablets, but I heard one where the parent charges the tablet maybe Sunday night, and then that charge is all they get all week. So they can use the
Oh,
tablet as long as the tablet has charge. And then once it's done, it goes back on the charger until, next Monday or Sunday night or whatever the rule is. So might be
that's a
something to
good one.
explore. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
We're setting intentions for the summer and what we want the summer to look like. And because if we don't have a plan, or we don't have an intention of how we want to feel this summer, and let
Yes,
that incorporate or inform what decisions we make to and how we spend our time, then it will just pass.
for sure.
I mean, just like our
For
own
sure.
lives. Why would the summer be any different
Oh my
than our
gosh.
whole life?
Oh my gosh. I am a lifelong planner. I love a planner. Love, love, love a planner.
Me too.
And
A paper planner.
oh, 100%. I have
Mm-hmm.
stacks. I have
Mm-hmm.
a favorite. If
Yes,
you need to know, reach out. I will tell you my
I
favorite because I love
do.
her. Um,
Yes, please link it in the show
I
notes, would you?
will. It's the Commit 30 small business woman owned. She's amazing. Anyway,
Ooh, fun.
in my ease, I was like, maybe I'll plan a little less. No, 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 no. I still need the structure of the plan because my whole day goes out the window. But seriously, if I
Right.
don't write down, meditate, move, and
Mhm.
journal, like it does not happen in my brain. Like it has to have a place.
I think it's really important. That
Yeah.
structure is really important. It's
Yeah.
that divine masculine to the divine
Yes.
feminine, right? So
100%.
water is the feminine contained in a glass. That's beautiful. The glass
Yeah.
is the masculine. So we have that structure and that contains us. Otherwise, we're all over the floor. Now it's a
Right.
mess.
Right. Right. And how fun to write in your schedule something fun for yourself, or even if it's just play, like whatever sounds good for that 2 hour chunk of time is so fun.
Right? Oh my gosh, I
Mhm.
love that. I love all your yeses.
Well, thank you. There's more than I realized, so thank you.
My pleasure. My
Mm,
pleasure. I've loved this conversation.
me
Always too
too.
short. Any time with you is too short.
Oh, you're so
Please
sweet.
tell everyone where they can find and follow you, listen to the podcast, and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. So, most active on Instagram at Having a Mom Moment. The podcast is the Having a Mom Moment podcast. You can find it everywhere. I've got an episode coming out soon with Wendy. And, you were talking about intuition and stuff. I think we need to have another conversation about intuition in our children on the podcast. I think
Ooh,
that's super
yes,
important.
please.
So, I think you're going to come back for a part 2. But yeah, that's where you can find me and follow me. And I think maybe I will do a little bit about the summer of fun on Instagram. So, thank you for that inspo.
My pleasure. I think those are good, quote unquote challenges
Yeah.
because it gives us an opportunity to show up consistently and it gives other people an opportunity to show up intentionally.
So good. So good. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Wendy. This has
Queen.
been so fun. Appreciate
Super
you.
fun. Right back at you. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.